Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Zelda 2 Max Rando tournament, and we have
Every spot's
today
counting down.
Trails versus jkoper. And I have with me tonight on the
Five,
booth
four,
Mr.
three,
Jackimus.
two,
How are you doing, man?
one.
I'm doing
Five
as
lives.
well as everyone can expect
All the
to
hearts
be
one
doing
count.
tonight there, Victor. I'm just excited for what I think is going to be a doozy of a race tonight between two very capable runners, both long standing in the community, both surviving in the bracket so far. This is going to be fun times.
Yeah, so the players started with 5 lives, which is pretty generous. The upstep technique, which is kind of a whammy, but it could be helpful sometimes. And they only have to place one gem, and they also have the raft, the boot, the cross, and the magic key. Also, they started with 7 heart containers, so anything can happen. I don't know if the players will look for the glove. If I were them, I would be looking for Great Palace at this moment.
No spells.
Always good to know where it is earlier on, for sure. If it's on that western continent, this could be a very quick one. We're going to have to see how things unfold here.
So yeah, they have to place one gem, and they have the magic key. So yeah, this could be a pretty quick one, unless we get something like a glove block, which is very probable, thunder block, or something like flute blocked.
There are definitely ways that this could be slowed down considerably, and also when you're playing a one jammer, experience can come into play if that all important Thunderbird fight is required to proceed through Great Palace.
Yeah, so when you are racing this kind of thing, it is very tense because you don't know what kind of seat this will be, and if your opponent will play very aggressively and go for Great Palace as soon as they can, or if they will explore and find something that will end up being needed in the future. So yeah, very, very, very tense at this moment of the race. The players seem to be exploring around. I believe we haven't seen any palaces so far, and jkoper thinking about sailing, but he just didn't.
So it looks like we already have jkoper exploring the eastern continent here. Eastern continent is never a bad choice early on if you start with that raft because there's just so many 500-point P-bags lying around, and levels are always somewhat important. Speaking of a 500-point P-bag, we just got one over on Trail's side on the grass tile in Western Hyrule. And that's very quickly going to get his levels up to 323. Very solid for the early game, if nothing else.
Yeah, those really are. So jkoper entering the town of Naburu.
We call it Firetown for those of us in the proper lingo. Koper looking for a hint, and he knows nothing.
Yeah, there are, I believe, 3 people, including a bat
Oh, but
that no hints here, but I believe jkoper only went for the first one. I don't think he will go for the other ones. Meanwhile,
Very interesting hint on Trail's side. Glove is on the western side of the world, somewhere.
oh,
But
that
Koper finding that Thunder spell, that could be very key if Thunderbird is required.
yeah, but the thing that the Trails found, it's a game changer. We'll see, but jkoper not doing the west is costing him that hint, and goal is to find the flute. is the hint he gets in return, which could be a thing, but
Downstep.
very low probability of that being a thing. And the fairy spell for Trails.
All you have to do is jump in lava for 200 rupees, and I guess you can use those rupees to purchase the fairy spell. Not sure how that works, but there it is.
And the Pivak K for Trails.
Definitely an
There's
item lurking at the back of this one. He's just got to hack his way through here for what it looks like he's trying to do. Got a whole lot of those sandworms just wasting space in the dark here.
And jkoper is still not able to cast the Thunder spell and has no downstep, so he gets knocked down by that blue Lysafel.
Could be a
Takes
very
4
profitable
hearts.
enemy, but right now just a little too hard to take out. 500 point bag, by the way, for Trails Z there, inching ever closer to attack level 4. Trails Ed still exploring the western side, Coper still exploring the eastern side. Very different decisions so far early on in this race.
Wait a minute.
Ocean Tile for jkoper. Let's see what we got here. And yeah, there it is. There's that flute over on the eastern side.
So have we seen any palaces so far? I'm not sure. We have jkoper is near Maze Island, but apart from that, I haven't seen any palaces.
We've seen Trails Ed walk back into North Palace, but other than that, you're quite right, Victor. We haven't seen any single palaces yet. But with jkoper on Maze Island, we know that there is at least one palace here, so we'll see if he ends up having a peek at what it is, but for now, those items might be a little bit more important. We'll just have to wait and see. Here's the
There's
first one, and it's just a point bag.
And the palace very deep inside Maze Island.
Yes, but if you can see just on that eastern edge, there is that slight line of water that you can just walk up and get to the northern half there. So not quite as deep as it looks. Coper finding the second item now. Let's see what it's going to be. Just another points bag, but and no, it's not quite enough. Just 45 points shy of that attack level for attack level 4, if that ends up coming into play. And looks like Coper's going to see what the palace is. Meanwhile, Trails Ed looking through some pass-through caves over on the west, and winds up back where the plains tile was.
And the palace in Maze Island was Palace 5, which is not a very tempting option at this point.
Absolutely not. In a one-gem race, Palace 5 is typically the longest and most confusing palace in the randomizer. You don't want none of that. And over on jkoper's side, as he explores this forest tile to presumably pick up some points, yes, there it is, look at that very thick path to his upper right whenever he exits this screen, as he gets attack level 4 and a bit of magic. Both players at 4, 2, 3 for levels right now. Pretty tight. Different exploration, but they're both very powerful for the early game. Trails Ed finds the back end of Jump Cave, not what he was looking for. jkoper has found an item cave over on the east, however. Thought about casting that Thunder spell, but it's still too expensive, so even though he's got the cross in the dark, seeing those eyeballs is very difficult and they take him out. Let's see if he's able to make it through on a second try.
Yeah, everything hurts. It feels like the mons take like 3 heart containers out of you per hit, so very dire situation for jkoper. However,
And jkoper actually made it through that screen by taking damage that would have otherwise killed him as the screen transitioned. So he was dead to rights there, but was able to pull through. And another disappointing P-bag. But when you see the relative amount of goodies our players start with, you know there's going to be just a few of those laying around right now.
I kind of hope he game overs here because I'm kind of feeling that he needs to go to the west, but we still don't know. We still don't know what palaces are on each side, and yeah, that's the most important thing now. But yeah,
key drop for jkoper could be very important. And Victor, are you hoping that our players have game overs? Come on, man. That's just cruel.
Yeah,
you don't want to hope they're going to have game overs. It's a randomizer. They're going to have game overs. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, I kind of identify with his situations. I like to go to the Eastern continent earlier, but in this tournament, that hasn't been a wise choice in all of the matches. So I don't know. Palace 4 for
it's
jkoper.
Still a small sample size as far as probability is concerned. And on Trail Z's side, we have a 500-point bag inside of the trophy cave. So finding a lot of P-bags early.
So yeah, the glove could be either on Medicine Cave, or I don't know if we've seen Heart Container Cave. I'm not sure, or Magic Container Cave. I maybe missed those.
There are definitely a few caves that we have not seen yet on the western side. We've got players exploring completely different continents in this race, which is very, very interesting to see here. Koper in 4 right now. Interesting decision to explore it right now. I don't believe he has the Reflect spell unless we both and our trackers somehow missed that. So, interesting decision right now to go into 4 and look for that item.
Yeah.
We've got a magic container over on Trail Z's side, inside of the cave that normally just has a heart container in the regular basic Zelda game.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for jkoper to pause. I'm too curious. Why did he enter Palace 4? Does he have Reflect?
I don't believe he does. I'm pretty sure we would have caught that. It's unlikely that we would have missed an entire town here. He's found maybe 2 dead ends so far. And we've now got Trail Z in the Magic Container Cave. So let's see what's at the back of this one very shortly here. And after some trepidation, there is the kid for Trail Z. So he can cash that in for a spell, which may or may not be important. We know the most important one, potentially, is that Thunder spell, since it's only a 1 gemmer, which jkoper already has after getting that in Firetown. And Great Palace is on the western side of the map, way down there. How about that?
So Trail still hasn't found Medicine Cave and maybe Heart Container Cave. I'm not sure about those. and I haven't been paying attention about the palaces he has found. That I guess we haven't seen GP around.
Well, on Trail Z's side, the only palace we've seen outside of the northern one is Palace, which we know is on the west. Trail Z is in the Water of Life cave right now. Little low on life here. Thinking about getting that key. Well, he's got his attack level 5, making very good use of those experience levels so far.
So yeah, very big probability of the glove being here. And jkoper finds Karok and he walks back. He doesn't have reflect, but yeah, what is he doing here? What does he know
He's
about?
definitely looking for the item. He's thinking maybe it could be the glove. He doesn't have the hint that Trail has, which is that we know that the glove is in Western Hyrule, so it definitely can't be in this palace. So that's a bit of a bummer for jkoper here, but Trail Z, despite very thoroughly exploring Western Hyrule, has not found a palace he can clear yet, even though he does have that all-important glove. He just knows where the Great Palace is so far. And that Thunder Spell could be very important later on, so seeing both players explore completely different continents right now could make quite a huge difference. And as jkoper evens his levels up at 444, he walks into the item room in Palace 4. We know this isn't going to be the glove. It is a magic container. He can cast that Thunder Spell now, so that could be important later.
Maybe he got a hint about that. About a magic container being in Palace 4. And he's probably betting on T-Bird being a thing.
It's entirely possible, but if you get a hint for a magic container in Palace 4, you know there's still 3 more of them lying around, and when it costs 68 at level 1, you just need to find one magic container. If you know one's in Palace 4, I don't think that you commit to find that particular magic container over some of the potentially free-ish spaces on the world map. But now we've got Koper back on the western side of Hyrule, and he's going through a cave that, if I'm not mistaken, had a 200-point bag at the end, so he's going to be a little disappointed from this one, I believe.
And yeah, to answer to Happy Day 622 in chat, Zelda 2 is the second best game ever, and Zelda 2 Randomizer is best game ever, so yeah, you have to play it. It's pretty much mandatory.
I have absolutely nothing to follow along with there. My beautiful co-commentator Victor is right about everything as always. Zelda 2 is love, it is life. It is the way, the truth, and the everything.
Yeah, and everything includes rage, hate, misery, but yeah, we all have a very deep, bittersweet relationship with this game.
Absolutely. So it looks like we have Trail Z in what appears to be Palace 2. We've got jkoper inside of Watertown right now, looking for a hint, and he's asleep, he knows nothing. jkoper already with that mirror, though, so he can head back here, which he's going to do, and pick up a spell.
So, do you remember where the Trails get the hint about the glove?
It was on the graveyard. King's Tomb is.
Yeah, King's Tomb has.
jkoper did pick up that. I believe that was the fairy spell for jumping into lava for 200 rupees. So that's something definitely useful. We're seeing him head to the other side of Fairy Town right now, Life Town rather, but where we got the fairy spell, and yeah, there he is, just sailing across, going to see what else he can find in this direction. As Trail Z continues to explore Palace 2, looking for that very quick gem, finds a dead end, he turns around. Not going to up A just yet, because I think there was an elevator junction just beyond this room.
So yeah, to answer to newbie 404 in chat, what is Max Rando? Max Rando is one of the weirdest categories of this Zelda 2 randomizer, in which you can start with items, with random items, random spells, random number of heart containers, random number of gems to place. So these races could take from 5 minutes to 3 hours, because survivability could be very tough, and the players will have to grind or something like that. Mr. Jackimus here has some experience with a gem that kind of seemed to be that way.
Trails Ed finding another dead end. And Victor, if I'm not stepping around, could you say the word category again for me? Or say it a few times for me. Please do. Please do.
Category. I don't know. My
Oh
English is
man,
very
I'm
bad.
disappointed. I'm disappointed because you deliberately tried to pronounce it a certain way, as Trails Ed gives absolutely no cares in the world about whatever item is buried in Palace 2. He knows that he does not need whatever it is. Most
Okay,
likely.
jkoper found the hint about the glove. And yeah, before you pronounced it, I thought the word I already forgot it. The word category. I used to say category with the accent
Exactly,
on the
exactly. Oh man, can you say it
Yeah.
that way, exactly that way, one more time, please?
category. That's the word.
Oh man, that sounds so beautiful. I gotta tell you,
That's-
Victor. I don't think I've ever been more interested in the human languages as I ever have. That just sounds so amazing. Thank you very much from me and all of our viewers right now. And I'm not trying to be coy or anything. You just sound so suave when you say it that way. That's all I'm gonna say.
Man, I love how mispronouncing the language English is somehow sexy or something like that.
It's because we're all just a bunch of degenerates, is what it comes down to. Anyway, we've got Trail Zed going up a ladder, path to the right. After finding the other dead ends, this should lead to Helmet Head, one would think. Trail Zed looks at that key and he's like, yeah, no, I don't want no stinking keys. I can turn into a fairy. And speaking of Helmet Head, here he is. So Trail Zed is going to place our first and only gem of this race. And he also knows where Great Palace is, so you have to think he's going to head right back in there and see what he can do. But if Thunderbird is required, he is still going to have to go over to Eastern Hyrule and find that Thunder Spell. So it's not quite the lead it might look like on the scoreboard, folks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, there's not a huge probability of this being thunder required. However, yeah, that could happen, and in that case, jkoper has good chances still. Hopefully, he finds his glove quickly and finds a palace he can do as quickly as Trails did.
Well, the glove itself wasn't too difficult to find once you got the hint that it's on the west. But we've got Trails going into Great Palace right now, so we could have a very quick race on our hands here if Thunderbird's not required at 545, and especially with that high starting amount of heart containers. Definitely a good chance to be able to carve your way through the palace and make it a Dark Link. But if Thunderbird's required, that's going to throw a monkey wrench into Trail Zed's plan. So I guess we're just going to see how Great Palace plays out from here.
So yeah, instant glove requirement from GP. So I will have lost this race already. But yeah, meanwhile, jkoper still looking for Medicine Cave. He doesn't know it's Medicine Cave he wants, but he's looking for the glove.
Well, we've seen the first going left to right dead end on Trail Z's side. So he knows that this isn't the right way, so we're going to backtrack just a little bit, turn around, and see what else we can find here in Great Palace. Still lots of junctions, holes, and etc. to see. Exciting times.
So yeah, trails going to the left in what we call the ferry room.
Last life, dude.
We call it the ferry room for good reason, because there's a ferry tucked away on the right side. But I have to say, I do respect the play to cast the fairy spell there, just in case there's some bird knights hanging out there looking to knock into the lava. Just take the safe way and keep going. And we've got jkoper going backwards through what is normally the cave that you need to use fairy in to get to 3 in the regular. I don't know if we have an official name for this cave. I'm going to call it Palace 3 Cave. Yes.
Yeah, we call it Fairy Cave.
Yeah, but the Fairy Cave is the cave where you get the item to fairy mistaken. Meanwhile, we've got Trail Z, Eon, and taking the drop. And we've got, you can only go to the right direction here, so this looks somewhat promising, but now we have another junction, so who knows?
And yeah, jkoper finally medicine cave. That's what we call the cave where you get the item for medicine for the fairy spell.
Well, I think you could also technically call it Fairy Cave, but maybe that's too confusing. And
Yeah.
I don't like the sound of Medicine Cave. That sounds weird. Let's just call it Cave Cave.
Oh, Kool-Aid Cave.
Cave. Kool-Aid Cave, yeah. Anyway, glove for jkoper. We know that that's probably going to be required in Great Palace based on what we've seen so far.
So what jkoper needs is a thunder requirement on GP and doing a palace quick.
And 2 junctions in a row for Trail Z here. Quite a different potentially go. And
Yeah,
a
lot of
third
options.
junction.
Another one.
Oh my! It's becoming very labyrinthine all of a sudden. You don't like seeing too many junctions in a row because, well, if you see them all lined up together, there's a very high chance of some very, very long dead ends in Great Palace. So even though with the nice stats and high life count, Trail Z might be barking up the wrong tree. He found the 4th of that type of room, all very close together here.
Yeah, there's also the probability of those rooms looping into themselves. And there's
Oh
the bird.
no, and Trail Z has found the Thunderbird room. There's still plenty of ways that they haven't explored inside Great Palace, but we know that the Thunderbird room exists, so that could play heavily in jkoper's favor. All he has to do is find a palace and clear it out here right now, and he's right back in this thing.
I'm kind of surprised of Trails getting out of Great Palace without the thunder requirement being confirmed. So I'm gonna say that probably he knows it is confirmed and the elevator rooms were looping somehow and he understands the loop. But I'm not sure. I wasn't mapping this GP. Hopefully, but I saw Boss Thunder around earlier. Hopefully he gives us answers, but I don't think he's around. So
Well, from what I've seen, there's still a few different directions that Trail Z could go in, but anytime you see that Thunderbird room, even in Max Rando, you get just a little worried if you don't have that Thunder spell. So we've got Trail Z over on Eastern Hyrule right now, looking for that Thunder spell, I would presume. And we know it's in Firetown, which wasn't too hard to get to. Speaking of, here it is. So we know Trail Zed's going to get that Thunder Spell, so
Wow,
he's
that
going
was
to be
quick.
right back in the Great Palace before too long, once we get that pickup. And we also have jkoper inside Palace 2, and we know if you're following the usual meta of Zelda 2 Randomizer, which is to always go right when possible, Palace 2 can be a little on the long side, but it won't be too long before he finishes up here. So, this could be a close one, folks. We'll have to see how things play out here. And on experience levels, both players completely equal at 5, 4, and 5 right now, so you can't even put Link's stats up to an advantage here right now. What it's going to come down to is how quickly can jkoper finish the palace, and how quickly can Trail Zed get back into Great Palace. To be fair, I don't think we've seen Great Palace on jkoper's side yet, so maybe he has a slight disadvantage there. But I'm very, very interested to see how things play out from here, as jkoper finds the second dead end in Palace 2, so he's going to head back. We're seeing the very similar path that Trail Zed followed in this palace, so when jkoper gets back to the elevators, I believe he's going to go down twice, and that will lead him to the boss?
Nah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm a motor mouse. Don't mind me.
Yeah, I have very short memory in Zelda 2, and that bites my back every time. But yeah, we know.
But Victor, buddy, I think you have the important memory for things that are important in life. No, sorry, there's the second dead end, all the way down at the elevator. Right, you have to go left, and then you zip around to this, like, up and around and jump over the lava. Yeah, Palace 2's a little weird on this one, but if you're following the logic, you'll get there before too long. But at this point, Trail Zed definitely ahead, going into Great Palace with that Thunder Spell in tow. And Trail Zed found this item room and turned right around. jkoper's going to go have a look at it, so let's see what the item is in Palace 2. And it's an extra jkoper, and jkoper thinks he has enough of it. He's going to turn right around. He's going to go up and presumably head left, and that is the path that leads to Helmet Head.
So yeah, at this point, the only thing that could help jkoper is Trails getting very, very lost inside this palace.
There are still quite a few ways that we haven't seen Trail Zed go, but you have to think, based on going out and looking for that Thunder Spell, that he's going to head right back to Thunderbird's room. He checked the up there, and it goes to the left. Not liking that too much, so he's going to go to the next junction room. The one with the two Focas. Beautiful. Except not. But I believe... Oh no, he's going to check the up again here. This is one of those paperclip rooms.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Oh no, he went through this one before. Never mind. So he's heading towards Thunderbird right now. And assuming he can take it down... the levels aren't what you would call optimal, but Trail Zed is a very competent player. I'm pretty sure he could take Thunderbird down with these stats here. So we'll find out very soon if Thunderbird is required. He's got 4 tries at it there. At attack 5, the only problem with Max Rando is attack 5 is not necessarily attack 5. You could be stuck with attack 3. I haven't been paying too much attention to the damage. 3 hits takes off 1 health. Hit him one more time. 3 hits a health bar. Looks like attack 5 is playing as attack 4, but that's not too awful, all things considered.
Yeah, that's...
And Trail Zed has Thunderbird down to half health already. Carving away at it right now. Very tight execution. Oh, nasty fireball there. Let's see if he can recover. The pendulum's a little out of swing, but no, Trail Zed has it. Thunderbird is down.
So let's see what lies beyond the bird.
I'm in trouble.
It's a dead end.
And
Thunderbird
dead
is
end.
not required.
I'm really,
Trail Z
really
could have gone
surprised.
a different way, but we didn't know that at the time.
I'm
So
really surprised about Trails getting out of GP.
yeah,
That move
Thunderbird
didn't make
completely
sense to
not
me,
required here.
and especially because I kind of know I've raced Trails a lot of times, and I've seen a lot of his races, and that's not his style. He's one guy that sees through his decisions, and I don't know why he took the decision of getting out of GP. However, this GP looks a little bit mazy. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a word.
we will definitely have a few questions for Trail Z after that daring decision to go hunt for Thunder and thinking that that was the correct way. Koper has placed his gem in Palace too, so I don't believe we've seen Great Palace on his side yet. But you know he's going to want to head there immediately. He's got Thunder, he's got Fairy, and he's got the gloves. He's got everything he needs to complete it. He's 555. Not, you know, very high levels, but for a pro of the randomizer, those are perfectly playable, as we saw Trails defeat Thunderbird with 545. It's just a matter of where's Dark Link right now. And on Coper's side, looks like he's going to go pick up the downstab to just help him out a little bit more getting through that Great Palace. But I don't think it's going to matter because we have the Dark Link room over on Trail Z's sign. It was through that paperclip room, the first one that he turned around in when he went back to fight Thunderbird. So unless something completely crazy happens here, I think Trail Z is going to be your winner tonight.
Yeah, looks like it. And yeah, the thing about jkoper is that Great Palace is in quite he's very tucked in a corner. That's not a corner. Let's see, kind of a dead end. A very thin section of the continent that you could very easily miss. So let's hope he finds it quickly. And GG to Trails.
Yeah, tonight Trail Z is your winner. Get out your GGs, or your GGGs, or just your Gs, or just type Genesis because they're a great band. That works too. But anyway, Trail Z won. Very, very impressive display overall. And, you know, outside of thinking that Thunderbird might be required and going to look for that Thunder spell, could have been finished quite a bit sooner here. So, as it turns out, on this seed, going over to the eastern side of Hyrule was a mistake because everything you needed was on the western side. So very unfortunate for jkoper trying to take advantage of that early raft. That you think that early raft and all that tempting experience would be a huge boon, but when everything's on the western side, it's a trap.
I'm also starting to think that maybe this was gloveless. So we have Trails with us, and maybe he can answer that question.
You had to take the L7 drop.
Oh, okay, so it was glove required.
Yes,
so
it
yeah,
was.
how did you feel?
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys. I was petrified when I saw the dead end after T-Bird.
So you thought
I imagine
it was
you would have
required
after your deliberate leaving of Great Palace after you found the room the first time, looking for that Thunder spell. Mercifully, Thunder was very easy to acquire, but based on what we've seen of the seed, you chose to explore Western Hyrule very thoroughly early on, and that was the huge difference maker in this one gemmer, because everything you needed was on Western Hyrule. Koper took advantage of that raft and picked up a lot of experience over in Eastern Hyrule, which is usually a very smart play, but in this case, everything you needed was over on the west side, so that definitely played to your advantage. We've got Koper going down the Eon drop right now, so depending on how he plays this out, he could be done very quickly, or maybe we'll see another Thunderbird fight here. Let's just wait and see.
I could have been done 10 minutes ago.
We were just mentioning that, in fact, Trail. Whenever you were in Great Palace the first time, all you had to do was maybe decide that Thunderbird wasn't the right way and try a few of the other options you had, because you had all of those left right with the up elevator junctions all grouped together there. And there were definitely a few ways that you didn't try. So, one thing we were wondering is why you decided to leave Great Palace and look for the Thunder Spell when you knew that you probably had, I would say, three different ways you could have explored. Can you explain that to us?
Well, yeah, when you went down that fun room, it's a loop. It looks like there's a bunch of up elevators, but it's just one room that loops into itself. And I was confused. I thought the T-Bird elevator was the only one, but when I went back up, I took the first elevator, and I saw the orange bird knight. Um, I don't know if you had my audio on stream, but I was like, "Fuck!" really loud because I knew there was another way, and I'm like, "Shit, man!" And then as soon as I saw the dead end after Thunderbird, I was like, "Man, Ripper's gonna die done any second now." And I'm fortunate that did he get the hint about the glove?
Yeah,
He
but very
he did
lately.
get the hint, but you got it in the first couple of minutes, whereas Coper had explored so much of the east before finally having a look at the west, where he got that hint for the glove. And yes, just a quick reminder, Trails. This is on a family-friendly channel, so as much as I love liquor and swearing, we would like to keep the second to an absolute minimum if possible.
Ask me how many fucks I give.
Okay, I believe I've been told this channel is very not doesn't care a lot about language, so I don't know. Maybe we could get another clarification about it. So
So
yeah, Jake Copper.
I'm just messing around. I'll settle down on the curse words. I was just trying to be a jerk.
No worries. I don't think it's such a big deal. So Jake Copper even entered Palace 4. We need to ask him why. I believe he got a hint about the magic jar being in Palace 4, and maybe he was going all in for Thunder being required. As we can see now, he is fighting Thunderbird. And yeah, he went for the magic jar in Palace 4. I'm pretty sure he got a hint for it because there's no other reason why he entered Palace 4 without having the reflect spell. That
I didn't see a hint for a Magic Jar and Palace 4 on Coper's side. I saw the hint for the flute being on the east and the glove being on the west, and that's all I saw. From the different potential hints that Coper checked throughout, as he's going in against Thunderbird here and making very short work of him here at 555. Very, very well executed fight so far here. Thunderbird down to 1 bar of health. Should just be a couple more hits, and yes, there it is. But unfortunately, Coper is going to get the bad news that it's just a dead end from here on out.
Yeah. My I about had a heart attack then, and I was extremely. I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, man, GG.
So I have to ask, Trails. After you saw that dead end and you thought you were sunk, do you have a defibrillator in your apartment? Is that what was able to rally you to consider looking in other directions and finish this thing off in fairly quick fashion? Actually, is what it ended up being.
I just man, I just took a deep breath and got my stuff back together. It's always when you start with any key, the glove is right next to GP, and Thunderbird's not required. Um, it's never a good feeling if you go and sail east to get Thunder. So Jay Cooper got the glove late. I noticed he has 555. I had the same levels or similar levels. I know I had life.
You were 5. As we mentioned, elected to explore the east early on with that raft in tow, whereas you fully explored the west. We saw just completely different paths through everything here. Coper has found the Sevens room, and he's dropping through, so Dark Link is going to be showing up very soon for us here. But yeah, with this one being only one gem and everything being on the west, your decision to explore the west definitely gave you a huge advantage. I'm not going to say it straight up won you the race, but it made a huge difference, to say nothing else. If Coper decided to explore the west, this could have been a lot closer. It would have definitely come down to who's the better player. And one of the things about the randomizer is that sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good. Not that that's a knock against you or anything, mind you, but in a situation like this, I don't think you can be too happy about winning or too happy about losing. But then again, I say that every time I play a race, so what do I know? Coper's fighting Dark Link, so he's going to finish this off, and hopefully he'll join us very soon for some more amicable banter.
Yeah, GG to jkoper. He finished in second place with a time of 45 minutes and 20 seconds.
And we have it confirmed that Coper will be very shortly here. We'll be hear from both of them, which is just great.
Hey, did you guys notice I had a really difficult time finding it was either Magic Container Cave or Medicine Cave, the one that had the glove in it.
It was the Medicine Cave, yes.
I went around in circles twice looking for that cave, and I finally found it because I got the hint that the glove was there, and I couldn't find it, and I'm like ripping what little bit of hair I have left out. GG, jkoper.
Hey, GG. Yeah. So, I think the main thing that went wrong for me was just not seeing the hint for the glove before I went east.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is something that we captured on very quickly in Trail Z found that hint very early. It was quite interesting to see both of you explore the world in different ways. Coper, you went east immediately, whereas Trail Z stayed over on the west. And based on your decisions, this probably could have gone either way. Coper, you found the hint about the flute, whereas Trail Z found the hint about the glove, and the glove was probably the more important item, definitely, since it was required, as it usually is. But yeah, on top of that, Great Palace was also in the west. Thunder was not required, and that was something that we were very interested about because you found it so early on. And Trail Z actually left Great Palace and went to go find that Thunder spell after finding Thunderbird early on. So, and we knew that there were a few places that weren't explored, so we were thinking maybe that wasn't the greatest decision and you could have gotten back into it, but the way Palace 2 was laid out, and that was the one that both of you completed, if you're following the standard meta for exploration, you would have found all the dead ends before, and the item before finally finding Helmet Head there.
Yeah. Did Trails get a magic jar at all?
Yeah, in the western continent,
yes.
One of the caves.
Yes, Trails
Oh,
did.
Okay. Yeah, there were a couple caves I didn't check in the end because I was just, trying to get to GP. But yeah, if there hadn't been a magic jar there, that would have been something. If Thunder would have been in play, since I had to dig pretty deep to find my magic jar, but
and that was something that we were wondering about. You very deliberately dug and went all the way through.
Yeah,
we were kind of wondering what was going through your mind whenever you committed to that.
I mean, it was so accessible, and sometimes it can be really quick, and then every time it's just like, one more room and then you're pot committed. So yeah, that's all it is.
I totally understand, and in this case, it was unfortunate that you found dead ends before the item room. Yeah.
Dead end. So, oh well. Trails is a great player. Deserves to win. Yeah, it took me a bit before I found the way to the northern half of the west too. I thought for a moment that I was going to have to go through Death Mountain and use that as a connector, and I was actually resigning myself to doing that when I found the back end of Fairy Cave, and because I couldn't find the entrance to Death Mountain. So I got kind of lucky in that respect that I didn't go through Death Mountain, I guess.
Of course. Neither of you went death. The back end of Fairy Cave is definitely key, and the way that the hints work in Max Rando, it's something that you might stumble upon, since typically you might be looking for that hint in King's Tomb,
Right.
which in this case turned out to be the hint for the glove. So yeah, it was a very interesting race to watch, and I've said it before, and I don't mind saying it again now that you're in here. As far as this tournament goes, like, you have to be good enough to get to the bracket, but from there, I mean, it's a randomizer. You can't feel too bad when you lose. You can't feel too great when you win, because you never know where everything's going to be. Skill can definitely play a factor. I don't think it did tonight, because I watched both of you guys play there, and both of you guys made mincemeat out of that Thunderbird, so you guys both played extremely well. It just happened to be that one of you found the items and the path necessary to complete faster than the other. So I want to say congratulations to the both of you, and thanks for putting on a fun race for us tonight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming in and doing commentary.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so I think it's time to wrap up. I wanna give a huge shout out to Jinxie Girl, who was our restreamer, to Ricky of Kokiri, I believe was our tracker. I kind of saw Tresco around, maybe helping with some stuff. So yeah, big shout out to the people of Zelda Speedruns for making this possible as always. And yeah, do we have information about what's coming up in the Zelda Speedruns channels?
We don't, but I'll tell you what should be. It's been a long time since we've done a trilogy randomizer race. jkoper, buddy, I know you're in. Trail Zed, I know you're in. Victor, are you in?
Well, I haven't played the others, but maybe I can practice. I have a lot of time now.
Look, I'm terrible at Zelda 1, but those trilogy races are so fun. You just set aside 5 to 6 hours and you go to town on it. It's great times. We have to make one of those happen again sometime soon. If there actually is something happening on this Zelda Speedruns thing that isn't this theoretical thing I brought up, maybe someone in the know could speak up now. If not, that's what's going to happen soon, I hope.
Yeah, for now we have the weekly race on Thursday, and we have a match on Thursday, I believe, between Paratroopa and myself. And I believe there's another match on Saturday. I'm not sure. Okay. And I believe at this moment we don't have any more races in the Zelda Speedruns community of channels. So yeah, I'd say this is good night for everybody, and have a very, very good week.
Yes, thank you very much. Big thank you to our commentators, as well as our tracker and our runners. On behalf of Zelda Speedruns, I want to thank you all for your support. I know that we are all facing a very trying time right now, and everybody's scared and things like that. But I think the important thing is that we come together and we support each other and kind of stop each other from going crazy. And now's the time for us to be together as one and not out scared and fighting alone. So everyone, be sure to keep each other safe. come hang out with us here at ZSR, hang out with each other in your chats. Let's just have a good time and get through this really difficult time together. So everybody out there, stay healthy, make good choices, and we'll see you here again soon on Zelda Speedruns.
Let's go. Yeah, hockey's done.
Yeah, let's go Zelda Speedruns.